Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's bird video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the 10 to 14 days for today's bird video. Day 10 will take us to the 14th of August. We'll be able to extend out beyond that. We have GFS and GFS Ensembles. Maybe around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFS V2. I'm so sorry, buddy. Have a look at the CFS V2 at the end of the video for September. And I shall get over that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video release date was our 6 AM UK weather forecast, refreshed and revamped. So if you have not seen the changes that made 6 AM forecast, have a look at it. Some very, very pleased how it's working out, and feedback seems to be great on that. So, yeah, thank you so much, for everybody for all the great feedback with 6 AM forecast. And if you've not seen the changes made yet, then have a look. And also, we've released January Friday as well. So check out those two vids if you'd like to do that. Like, share, subscribe on all of today's videos of content. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Right, we're going to start off today with the climate averages page at the UK Met, so you can see what's happened in July. But we're going to start off with June. So this is how the mean maximum temperature, actually want to flip that over from mean maximum to mean temperature. There we go. Right, okay, forget that happened. This is how June worked out in terms of its mean temperature. Normally, all places had a warmer than average month in June, of course, particularly so in the west, because we did have a very easterly month. There's a lot of easterly winds which brought cooler air off the North Sea to the east, so the hottest temperatures in June tended to be out into the west. Some parts of Western Scotland, this limited area just here, was like 3 degrees or more above average, widely on the west side with 2.5 degrees above average, so a very warm June indeed. Even in the east, with those easterly winds, we still see the temperature normally around a degree or so above north, set against 91-2020. If we compare that to an older average, it's even warmer in June if we compare that 61 to 1919. Well, check out what happened with the temperature in July. And there we go. Very, very different July compared to June, with all areas either average or, for some parts of central and southern England and also eastern Scotland, a cooler, slightly cooler than average July was recorded, set against the 1991 to 2020 average. So central parts of England, for example, around 0.5 degree to 1 degree below average. And how did precipitation work out? Well, that's June's precipitation anomaly, widespread, dry and average conditions. Some places nearer normal, that's because of those hit-miss thunderstorms that we had in the second half of the month. But many places came out with a drier than average. June, what happened in July? Look at that, significantly wetter than average across most parts of the country. In fact, Northern Ireland had the wettest, their wettest July on record, I believe. I think some parts of Northern England and also southwestern England got close to it. So, yes, a very, very different July compared to June. Obviously, much cooler and very significantly wetter in terms of July. How did sunshine come out? That could be something else quite interesting to look at. So it was a pretty dull July as well, especially so for Wales and Northern Ireland. Not quite as bad for the north and east, but nevertheless, it was a pretty grim July. Let's put it that way. And how does sunshine in July compare to June? Look at that. June was widespread sunny of an average month. Some parts of northern Britain actually having 170% of their average sunshine. But what a difference in July. So it's a summer that definitely deteriorated from June to July, and it was predicted by the GavsWeatherVids summer forecast. And we said that August might pick up a little bit though, so we was a little bit reticent on like the front load summer idea, because the idea with what we call a front loaded summer is that you get the warmest, driest weather in June. There's a deterioration through July, and then the worst of the weather is in August. And that didn't really show up within our summer forecast. So what we actually said is that we will probably get the best of the weather in terms of most consistent, driest, warmest weather in June. Then July could go really quite poor, and then we might even get a little bit of a pickup in August, although we would not get back to the properly settled weather that we have in June, if you get what I mean. So that's why I was a little bit reticent about the front-loaded So calling it a front load, so it was a classic front loaded. So we'll actually have the worst of weather in August and the best of the weather in June, and we sort of thought that July. We always had our doubts about July. We thought that July might be pretty grim, and so it's turned out. So we're waiting to see how this works out in August. I imagine August is going to continue to be quite a mixed month, but you know, there are signals that we might see hotter weather at times, and we're going to talk about that, of course, in today's 10 to 14 days. So I think the GavsWeatherVids forecast is going quite well. I'm pretty pleased with it. Let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, we shall see how August comes up. Right, so let's have a look at central temperature. The CT is currently sitting at 16.6, which is 0.8 of a degree above average. We had 17 degrees, of course, in June. Warmest June on record, really, although there are warmer Junes right back in the 1800s and beyond, of course, that have been recorded. But in terms of a modern average, anyway, that's the warmest on record. July, 16.1. So not great, and although above 15.9, you'll notice, so in the 16, so can't complain too much. That's mostly down to warm nights rather than the offsetting the cooler days it had. And then August at the moment is actually a little bit above where we was in July at 16.6. We wait to see where that's going to go. That's provisional, as I said yesterday, to the 3rd. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Next couple of weeks, looking at London today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. I don't need to draw it myself today like I did yesterday. So at the moment we're cooler than average. We're going to stay that way into the early part of next week, but from the middle of next week onwards, there is a pickup in the upper air temperatures going on, becoming significantly warmer, with those upper air temperatures rising to between 15 and 20 degrees at 858 pounds. Some of those ensemble males, they might be a little bit over the top, but it certainly looks like we're going to go significantly warmer later next week, probably hotter, from an upper air temperatures ranging from 10 to 15 Celsius. Looks relatively brief, and as we go through into the second half of August, we find those upper air temperatures coming back down much closer to average again. Precipitation-wise, this is all wet weather that's on the way in terms of Storm Antoni. So if you haven't yet heard, UKMO has named tomorrow's area of low pressure as, I think it's Storm Antoni, but with an I. It looks like particularly wet, windy and cold Saturday coming up at the time of the year. That we have got a bit of a drying trend taking place though. So once that area of low pressure gets out of the way, it does look as though the trend is drier through the course of next week. So drier and warmer, possibly going more unsettled again by the end of the ensemble. But of course that is a long way out and is therefore subject to change and unreliable. Temperature anomalies shall be thought throughout the August going to be around average, a little bit below the north, a little bit above in the south, not a particularly big deviation. I expect these charts, these anomaly maps, to trend warmer though over the next couple of days, and precipitation anomalies from the 4th to 12th of August, average or a little bit wetter than average for the north, a little bit drier than average just to the southwest, just starting to hint now and a bit of a change for next week. The latest Windflow Map from earthnullschool.net shows tomorrow's area of low pressure is waiting in the wings just here. That is below, but it's going to give us a very inclement Saturday. Okay, let's start getting through the chart data there. This is how the latest UKMO Euro runs, looking midnight on Monday. High pressure trying to reach in to the south and to the southwest. Still a bit mixed, though, through the early part of next week. But second half next week sees a significant change. High pressure then starts drifting towards Germany. And with low pressure out in the Atlantic, we begin to pull up a much warmer, in fact hotter, southerly wind. So this is how the upper air temperature is looking for midnight on Thursday. We push a plus 15 Celsius into northern England. So if they play sunshine, we could get the temperature close to 30 degrees with that, I think. The question is how long will it last, though? Because by midnight on Friday, this area of low pressure deepening in the Atlantic is already moving in and seemingly about to push all of that warmth away. So it looks like it could be a 1 or 2 day wonder. It will depend how deep this area of low pressure gets in terms of whether those hotter upper air temperatures can hang on more than a day or two, really. Icon, again, looks like that. A little bit of a reshine to build from southwest on Monday, but still a bit unsettled through the early part of next week. But then, second half of next week, again, significant change. High pressure east, low pressure out to the west. Up comes those hotter southerly winds, bring those warm upper air temperatures towards us. That's next Friday, week today. Again, low pressure to the west of the UK and Ireland looks quite deep. However, the hot air has got in across England and Wales. We've got temperature above 15 degrees there at 858 p, which should get the temperature to or above 30 degrees, depending on sunshine amounts in the south and the southeast. That's where we aim with Icon, this area of low pressure starting to move in from off the Atlantic, and already by midday next Friday, the hottest of those upper air temperatures are beginning to seep away into the continent. The GFS midnight run once more building up this ridge from the southwest, but still rather showery, especially for the north through the early part of next week. Then the high pressure takes over and to the east of the country, low pressure not as deep in the Atlantic, and so that means that the high pressure actually manages to hang on into the weekend of 12th, 13th of August. Quite hot down in the south as well as we go into Saturday. Notice how much slacker the gradients are there with the GFS midnight run compared to both UKMO, Euro and the Icon models. So it suggests quite a hot, humid, and possibly quite thundery weekend next weekend, with these little areas of low pressure being triggered by the heat, humidity and instability. Eventually, so the GFS midnight run has a hot air lasting through next weekend, unlike the other two models, I think, and eventually turns quite thundery as we go into the beginning of the following week. Slack gradients and thundery areas of low pressure probably bring downpours eventually by the very end of the GFS midnight run, 20th of August. The next low is pushing through from off the Atlantic. That's clearing away all of the slack gradients and that, and we're going back to unsettled westerly winds and whatnot. GFS 6Z, again, looks like that. So rather mixed and showery, especially for the north, in the early part of next week. Then we get this build of pressure over and to the east of the country. Again, not as deep with that area of low pressure in the Atlantic, which means the high pressure, the ridge, is maintained much longer and extends out into next weekend, pulling up those very warm to hot southerly winds as the upper air temperature pushing the plus 15 Celsius into southern parts of the country. By Sunday the 13th, just a suggestion that this low we start to move in then, probably begin to trigger a thundery breakdown, and that's how we look as we go to extended range, so an increasingly unsettled look. If you enjoyed the video, please can you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos, and don't forget to tell friends about GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. We've got to put on around 50 subscribers, that's all, 50, to get ourselves to 15.6k. So if you could give us a sub and tell your friends and family to subscribe, that would be incredible. Thank you so much. GM, again with that ridge down to the southwest, but rather showery for the early part of next week. Then the high pressure takes over to the east country, but low pressure out in the west. That pulls up hot air from the south, hotter with the GM. Actually, the plus 20 Celsius is making it onto the south coast there. I suspect that's an outlier. This is Friday the 11th, a week today. Still looking pretty hot, although the low pressure in the Atlantic is again deeper than like on the GFS output. Upper air temperatures are looking pretty hot though, especially for England and Wales. And then into the weekend of the 12th, 13th of August, this low pressure starts moving in from off the Atlantic, begins to push that heat away back into the continent. And as we get to day 10, it looks like we're going back into something rather cooler and more unsettled, with another low in the Atlantic, probably about to head our way in that direction. And then the ECM at WF lastly for these charts, once more about ridge down to southwest on Monday, but still rather showery through the early part of next week. Then the high pressure takes over to the east of us. We begin to pull wind back into south and southeast. Second half of next week, hotter air pushing northwards as the upper air temperature, showing plus 15 Celsius is moving north too. And as we get into the weekend of 12th, 13th of August, just looking rather showery then, beginning to move that hot air away from us. So as we get to day 10, that's going to look rather slack. I think that suggests like thundery weather. Let's have a look at upper air temperatures at day 10. See how the heat has drifted back down to southern parts of Europe. Actually, upper air temperatures becoming quite cool out to the north and west there by day 10. So the GFS output wants to extend this warm spell or hot spell through next weekend and even into the beginning of the following week. All of the other model output really clears the hottest of the upper air temperatures out of the way by Saturday. So Saturday the 12th, I think that is. Yeah, Saturday the 12th. So it's just like a 2-day one, Thursday, Friday, with most of the model output, but the GFS is extending it a little bit. This is how the precipitation forecast looks based on that ECM, right? That's easy to follow. It's quite a complicated scenario, this, and it's causing, actually, it's causing all sorts of headaches, this potential warm spell. Right, okay, this is how the precipitation forecast looks based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. Tomorrow, looking a washout in many parts of the country with that area of low. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Also, will be some very strong winds with that as well. Check out today's 6 a.m. UKMO forecast, more about that. And of course, we will have tomorrow's 6 a.m. forecast at 6 a.m., which will be a Storm Antoni special, I would imagine. Now, that gets out of the way by Sunday, and we're going into like showery northwesterly winds. That lasts into early next week with more showery conditions. Then we're drying out for the second half of next week, but it's not long before those heavy downpours and thunderstorms come back. In fact, by the end of next week already, we're starting to bring heavy downpours in from off the Atlantic, and by day 10, we're looking a little bit drier, but we're back into a rather mixed scenario by then. These are the options on the table within the ECM Ensemble Day 4. Day 10 gets 14th of August. 13 members of the ECM Ensembles with high pressure over to the east of the country. Some sort of low, probably around here. Looks quite weak though. 12 with blocking around Greenland and lower pressure coming in off the Atlantic into northern Europe. 10 with high pressure again between Greenland and Scandinavia. Some lower pressure through here. Another 10 with high pressure just out to our west. Lower pressure is up there. That probably brings in wind from the northwest. And 6 with high pressure to our east and north. Some low pressure down here. Again, that draws up wind from the south. All a bit inconclusive, I have to say, there at day 10, but probably suggesting rather more showery conditions by that point in 2 weeks' time. These are the options that we got. It gets 19th of August, 19 members of the ECM Ensembles with, again, lower pressure over and to the east of the country. 14 with low pressure again over and to the east. 7 with high pressure, low pressure to the west, I should say. 7 with high pressure over the country, though. That's much more settled. And 6 with a Scandinavian high. That will bring the wind in from a warm or a hot southerly southeast direction. 5 with blocking around Greenland, low pressure in off the Atlantic and over Scandinavia. That's going to be more unsettled once again. It's a mixed bag here at both 10 and also 14 days. How long will the high pressure last? How long will it take to get back to more unsettled conditions? It's all to be revealed, and seemingly it's all to play for. Okay, and so the final thing to look at is CFS V2. So this is the latest 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS for September. So we've got some high pressure in the Atlantic, low pressure up towards Greenland. So that's like a westerly type flow coming across the Atlantic. However, it is also building up high pressure over Scandinavia, and that ridges in towards the country as well. So it suggests a bit of an anticyclonic signal, although the Atlantic setup looks rather westerly. So how successful any ridge chart is will be against those westerly winds coming across the Atlantic, you know, we'll have to wait and see. Slightly warmer than average month being predicted here. Not a particularly hot month, but a little bit above normal by around half a degree to 1 degree or so. And no particular signal for precipitation. So we wait and see how that works itself out. I think we've got enough to worry about in the next week to 10 days, to be honest, with that warm-up and what's going to happen with that before start worrying too much about September. Right, we're done. If you enjoyed the video, please can you like, share and subscribe. But to show us everyone for doing that, why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And don't forget to tell friends about GavsWeatherVids. We thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. But for us, as I say, 50 subscribers will get us to 16.5k, so 16.6k, I should say. If you could give us a sub, that'd be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Right, so coming up tomorrow on the channel, we've got the weekend actually. We've got GavsWeatherVids. We've got 6am forecast. What am I talking about? 6am forecast. The ECM. I did say GavsWeatherVids Sunday roundup, then just randomly. I don't know. It's been a long week. No. Let's get back to business. So tomorrow we've got 6am UK weather forecast, refresh and revamp. We've got the ECM doing for 2 days. 42 day, weekend forecast 10 to 14 day, and then on Sunday again 6am forecast there will be the 8th autumn update, going to be a July date special, and at 6pm we will be live streaming our 10 to 14 day, and we're going to have loads of long range with that as well. I'm going to show you CanSips. I think we'll have the latest update for the ECM season 1 as well, and of course CFS data, so long range, short range, medium wave, medium wave, range, wave, medium wave, medium range, I don't know. It's all going to be happening over the weekend. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that, and we're going to see you over the weekend. Have a great rest of your Friday, and for this one, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.